Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited because I am going to be reacting to the most iconic book covers in history. Now, if you don't know, I went to university, I went to college for illustration, and I am a huge lover of book covers, and one of my aspirations is book design, and I work as a freelance illustrator, and I love redesigning and making art prints of my favorite book covers, or redesigning book covers for my favorite books. Now, I just filmed my last video is a book haul where I unboxed all of my new Kazuo Ishiguro books from Faber Faber and also some books from the Vintage Japanese series, and these are some of the most beautiful books I own. And in that video, I unboxed them, and it's just me gushing about the book covers. I always think about book cover design. It's just part of how my brain works as a reader and an artist. I always think about book design. And then I was wondering, I wonder what the most iconic book covers are, or at least what other people deem the most iconic book covers. So I did some research, and I found a list, and I'm going to be reacting to it with you today. But before I do that, I did receive in the mail yesterday another package. I think this was part of my order that I was just talking about, my book haul, but it came separately. I don't know what book this is because I thought that this was everything, but apparently it was not. I have another book that I haven't opened, so I thought I would open it on this video. So anyway, let's see what book this is, because I really don't remember. Alright, ready? Almost so satisfying. I don't think I think this is a birthday present. I don't think I'm supposed to open this. My birthday is this Monday. It's the 17th of October, and I think I didn't order this. I was gonna say, this is all of them. Oh my god, I have to go tell my parents. Okay, I just asked my parents, and my mom informed me that this is actually a thank you present from my cousin Catherine, who recently got married, and I helped her with her wedding. I did a few things for her, and she wanted to give me a book as a thank you, and that is the sweetest thing ever. Catherine, I don't know if you're watching. Thank you so much. You did not have to do this. I'm gonna text her and say thank you, but I was honored to help. I didn't need anything as a thank you. So my cousin Catherine, she and I are very close. I love her so much. She is like the older version of me. We always say I'm the mini version of her. Anyway, and my Aunt B, my mom's sister, is one of my biggest supporters, and she always watches every single one of my videos. So Aunt B, if you're watching this, I love you very much. Catherine, thank you so much. All of my aunts and my family are very supportive, especially, as you can see, they give me books to fuel my channel and my book addiction. So actually, my mom asked me a few weeks ago if someone wanted to get me a cloth-bound classic, which one would I want? And I thought it was for my birthday because my birthday is coming up, but apparently it was Catherine asking to give me a thank you book for helping with her wedding. And the one that I asked for is The Little Prince! Oh my god, by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I have so many editions of this book, but I don't have it in the cloth bound, and Corley Bickford Smith, who is the amazing designer of these books, came out with a design of The Little Prince, and I needed to add it to my collection. As you guys can see them over there, Willow is crying because she's alone downstairs. It is so beautiful, and I can't wait to add it to my collection. Oh my goodness. Love the colors. It goes so well. This is, again, talking about beautiful cover design. This is such an amazing design because it takes the stars and the planets from the illustrations and creates a repeat pattern of them. It's just so beautiful and brilliant, and the colors, I think, are absolutely perfect. The dark blue with the yellow, I just think goes so well together, and I love it so much. Catherine, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Look at how gorgeous that is. I love it. Oh my god, I can't wait to add it to my collection. That's amazing. So, starting the video of iconic book covers off to a great start because I think this one is extremely iconic. I wonder if the Little Prince book cover is going to be on this list. We will find out. Okay, now that that has been all sorted out and we have a new beautiful book to add to my collection, let's react to these most iconic book covers. So I'm going to screen record my phone and put it next to me. So this list is from Literary Hub, and they have other amazing lists, but this one is the 25 most iconic book covers in history. You probably already have one on a t-shirt. Amazing. Let's see if I do have one on a t-shirt. This article is by Emily Temple from October 7th, 2021, so it's a year old. Ooh, okay, number 1 is the original cover of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, designed by Hugh Thomas in 1894. I completely agree. I think this cover is extremely iconic, and I do kind of wish that they had this cover still in print. I'm sure that they have maybe reproductions, but I don't see very many. I think the closest that comes to it is Corley Bickford Smith's design, and it has these birds on it, so I feel like it comes close, but not exact. Yeah, I would love this as a book design still. It's so beautiful. It says there are innumerable different covers for Jane Austen's most beloved novel, but this one, which originally covered the first fully illustrated edition of the novel published by George Allen, was not only the most popular edition at the time, but continues to be the version most used for merch. That's true. You do see a lot of like t-shirts and tote bags and things with this design on it. Okay, let's see what's next. The Great Gatsby. I have to agree. The Great Gatsby, definitely people have this on a t-shirt. I have been very close multiple times to buying a t-shirt with this cover on it because I just love it. This cover art is by Francis Cugat from 1925. A fun fact about The Great Gatsby's book cover is that when Ernest Hemingway wrote this in A Movable Feast, he said that when he first saw the cover of The Great Gatsby, he thought it really was creepy. It creeped him out, and when he read the book, he took the dust jacket off of it because he just didn't want it looking at him, because it is the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eichelberg, so I feel like it's getting the job done because it's creeping out even Ernest Hemingway couldn't handle. I love it so much. It is iconic. 110% agree that it is so iconic. It says, this may be the most recognizable book cover in American literature, definitely, but it also has an unusual history. For one thing, it was the only cover that Spanish artist Cugat ever designed. I really feel like I'm not pronouncing his last name correctly. I'm so sorry. For another, he completed the work before the manuscript was finished. He made $100, and it appears the cover actually influenced the book. For Christ's sake, don't give anyone that jacket you're saving for me, Fitzgerald wrote to his editor, Maxwell Perkins. I've written it into the book. Ooh, that's amazing! This might have been a response to a sketch rather than the finished product, but either way, it influenced and became an American classic. I did not know that. See, I love this. This is the kind of research that I love doing. Oh my gosh, so I guess he saw the book cover with the eyes, was inspired by them, and wrote in Dr. T.J. Eichelberg's character or presence? That is amazing. And then it had such significance on the book, and of course all high schoolers have to learn about the symbolism and meaning behind Dr. T.J. Eichelberg's eyes. Okay, let's see. The next one, Brave New World. I agree that it's iconic, but there's something about this cover that I don't love. I don't love it. I think it's iconic for sure. But I've seen so many other amazing book covers for Brave New World. This one isn't my favorite, but I do like it. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, cover design by Leslie Holland from 1932. There are several categories of Brave New World covers: pill covers, machine part covers, clone covers, and earth covers, many of which visually reference the original by Leslie Holland, which is still the most celebrated and iconic despite the fact that Holland had famously never even read the book. Oh wow! See, that's interesting. As a book cover freelance illustrator, I always want to design book covers for books that I have read, because then I think you can properly portray, or I guess create, the perfect narrative image based on the story that you have read. I just feel like they can give you images and symbols that can be found in the book, and they can give you a short synopsis of the book, but can you really create the perfect design without having read the full book? I don't know. But I think that that's really interesting that she didn't read it. And yeah, I do agree that it's iconic. I actually haven't read Brave New World. I read parts of it in high school, but not the whole thing, and I'd be interested to read the whole thing myself. Okay, the next one is A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. This cover art is by Alvin Lustig from 1947. I agree that it's iconic, but again, I don't love the cover. I don't know what about it. I like the colors. The font is okay. The placement of the text, I guess, is fine. There's just nothing about it that makes me go, oh my god, yes, this is amazing. This is perfect. Let's see. The lithograph of Alvin Lustig's cover for Williams' play, which was published in hardcover by New Direction in 1947, is part of the permanent collection at the Cooper Hewitt Museum. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't even know what about it. I'm trying to think, what don't I love about this? I just feel like it says something, but it doesn't say much. We have these three figures. I'm assuming the black figure is the male protagonist, and the white figure on the right is the female protagonist. Okay, the next one, The Catcher in the Rye, a novel by J.D. Salinger. This cover design is by E. Michael Mitchell from 1951. I agree that this cover is iconic. I do really, really like this design. I feel like it's really striking. If you guys don't know, The Catcher in the Rye is my least favorite classic, but I haven't read it since high school, and I feel kind of guilty saying that it's my least favorite classic because I haven't read it in so many years. Okay, so I do love this cover. This one I do feel like is the most iconic. It definitely stands out the most. There are other illustrators and artists that have done redesigns that I think are also incredibly beautiful. Salinger was notoriously strict about the way his books were presented. You may recall that this is the only one with any kind of image at all. His close friend, E. Michael Mitchell, was his neighbor in Connecticut while he was writing his most famous work. Reportedly, Salinger read bits of the book out loud to his friend as he was working on it, and eventually asked him to design the cover. Like the Austen cover above, it has been reproduced countless times on countless pieces of merchandise and has graced more than a few dorm room walls in its time. Definitely, this is another one that is on a lot of merchandise, for good reason. I think it's beautiful. I do really like the text and the way that the text and the image go together. I love the angles. I love the way that the colors cut the composition. It's a beautiful design. I feel like I need to read The Catcher in the Rye soon. The next one we have is The Invisible Man, a novel by Ralph Ellison. I have not read The Invisible Man, so I can't say too much about this cover. I have seen this cover around quite a lot because this is a very iconic book, but I can't say anything about the significance too much. I find it really interesting the way that they divide the composition, with the first letters INVISI being a pale cream or a white, and then BLEMAN being the yellow, and then by Ralph being yellow, and then Ellison being white. So I feel like that's an interesting composition because it really brings the eye all around the composition. This design is by Edward McKnight Coffer from 1952. It says, Invisible Man is sort of unusual as literary classics go, in that it has seen a slew of great covers. My favorite is probably the Vintage Books 30th Anniversary Edition, and few offensively bad ones, though I do find the current UK Penguin Classics edition to be rather too cute. But the first edition cover is still the most iconic, perhaps because of McKnight Coffer's background as a poster artist, and it turns out that McKnight Coffer designed a lot of interesting covers in his time, including a 1938 edition of Rebecca and a 1941 edition of The Maltese Falcon that I had never seen before. Oh, that's interesting. You can definitely tell that he was a poster designer. He has an eye for graphic design, just the way that the composition works, and that the text is quite striking. And just the composition itself, I think, works really well. But again, I don't love it. I do think it's iconic, though. Alright, the next one we have is Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. This cover design is by Joe Pernicario, and the illustration is by Joseph Mugnain from 1953. I love this cover. I think it's so iconic. I think it is so smart. We have this figure who is covered in the pages of books, and Fahrenheit 451 obviously is one of the most iconic dystopian book about books. I love the first line. It has one of the most iconic first lines. It was a pleasure to burn, and so it's about book burning and this dystopian world where books are obviously seen as very powerful and they don't want people to read because it gives you knowledge and power and opinions. So I think that it's such a brilliant idea. Love the cover design because we have this figure who's not only covered in the pages of books on fire, but also standing on a pile of open books. And the way that they overlay the text and they make it transparent so you can see the line work underneath, I just think it's so brilliant and so smart. And I love the rule of thirds. They are doing it so well. We have the figure not in the center but slightly to the right, and we have him standing right above the Fahrenheit but also going into 451. I just think it's so smart. Okay, this one says, it looks a little dated now, but it's still the most recognizable and iconic cover for this beloved classic. I don't feel like it's that dated. I don't know. I love it. I still love it. Definitely iconic, one of my favorites. Okay, the next one we have is Psycho by Robert Bloch. The cover design is by Tony Palladino from 1959. I've never read Psycho, but I have seen parts of the movie. Something that I love as a passionate illustrator and graphic designer is when you can do so much with text and you can do so much with letters, because it's one thing to be able to illustrate a narrative image, but it's another thing to create a narrative through things that you can do with text and with a title and with an author's name. And so the way that they rip apart Psycho, I think, is such a clever idea. It gives you enough, and I think it brings you in and it's intriguing, and I think it really screams a mystery kind of novel, the black and the white. I just find it so striking and really clever. Bloch's typographical design for Bloch's novel was so successful that Alfred Hitchcock purchased the rights to it for the film's promotion. It also influenced Saul Bass's opening credit sequence. According to New York Times, Palladino said the design, stark white letters torn and seemingly pasted together against a black background to resemble a ransom note, was intended to illustrate typographically the homicidal madness of the novel's protagonist Norman Bates. How do you do a better image of Psycho than the word itself? He said. Indeed, 100%. I completely agree. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Love it. Next we have To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I love the book To Kill a Mockingbird, and I love this cover. This cover design is by Shirley Smith from 1960. I've seen so many amazing cover designs for To Kill a Mockingbird. This one I love because it's iconic, but I do feel like they could have done a little bit more to make it a bit more narrative, to tell a bit more about the story. It's a very clean design, which I like and can be really effective, but I feel like you could do a bit more with the narrative. One of my favorite designs of To Kill a Mockingbird is the Red Spine edition from Vintage Classics, which I have on my shelves, and I really, really love that one. Next we have Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. This cover design is by Paul Bacon from 1961. It says, just like To Kill a Mockingbird, there have been a few redesigns of Catch-22 here and there, but the original has stuck. In a lot of ways, Paul Bacon is just as iconic as any of the covers on this list. He is credited with inventing the big book look, which Stephen Heller summed up in a 2002 issue of Print magazine. Large, bold title, prominent author's name, small conceptual image. His great innovation, in a way, was to rearrange the hierarchy of the book jacket. There was a time when book jackets had to be filled top to bottom with realistic illustration. Paul's work brought into high relief that what we do is create hierarchy. When people talk about the big book look, what they really mean is one element on the jacket is being foregrounded, is really large, and is crying out for your attention. Oh, that's so interesting. I've never heard that phrase before. I definitely agree that this cover is iconic. See, I've never read Catch-22, so I feel like I can't completely say what I would change about it, or What I would make different, I definitely think that a lot of thought went into it, and that hierarchy, you can definitely see that that was a prominent aspect to the design, and that it works really well. I think the blue and the red really work well together because they aren't complete contrasting colors, because that would be green and red, but I do think that they really bring each other out. It's kind of manipulating your eye. They're really telling you where to look, and I think that's when cover design can be really smart. Alright, the next one we have is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This design is by S. Neil Fujita. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their name correctly. It is from 1966. I haven't read In Cold Blood. It's true crime, right? Or it's just a crime novel. It's definitely iconic. And again, it's kind of telling you things without saying too much through text. I really like the font. I really like the way that they stack the text, and the pin into the text, I think, creates a really interesting design as well, and it moves your eye around really well. And I like the colors, like that nice maroon. It says, according to the Times, when Fujita first presented this cover to Capote, it was much the same except for the coloring. The hat pin, with its tip like a swollen drop of blood, was red. Capote objected, arguing that the crime wasn't fresh enough for red blood. Ooh, that's interesting. In response, Fujita changed the color to burgundy and added a funeral black border to the jacket. Ooh, that's really interesting. See, I feel like when you understand more of the background of the cover, you like it even more. So I love hearing about the reasoning behind jackets and certain designs, even if they're not for books, that's why I love art history, to learn about the background of a piece of art. I think that's a really smart design. Next we have The Godfather by Mario Puzo. This cover design is by, the same person, S. Neil Fujita. Illustrated by John Kashiwabara? I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly either. From 1969. Much like Psycho, this cover has benefited from being used to promote the film adaptation, which was, in this case, the highest grossing film in 1972, and at the time was highest grossing film ever made. Not to mention one of the most influential. Not a bad recipe for iconicness. I've never read or seen The Godfather. One of my favorite Godfather references is in You've Got Mail, which is a Nora Ephron film with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. One of my favorite comfort movies. Anyway, that's random. I really like how they combine the graphic design element with the hand and the puppet master hand, and how the strings are attached to the word father. And I really like the font. I think it makes for a really iconic image, and I like it a lot. I do. Next we have Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This cover design is by Janet Halverson from 1969. This also super iconic. I love the way that the bird divides the image. I haven't read this book, but I feel like maybe something could have been pushed a little bit further, maybe with putting something inside the bird's silhouette or making the shapes underneath. Could they have made that into something that relates to the novel? I don't know. These are the questions that I would ask if I was the art director. Anyway, Halverson designed a lot of classics, including Angelou's Gather Together in My Name, which picks up on the imagery from this iconic cover, and Joan Didion's Play It As It Lays. I like the silhouettes, the composition. Yeah, I feel like definitely iconic. There's something that I feel like maybe could be pushed a little bit more, but I do really love this one. Alright, next we have Slaughterhouse-5 or The Children's Crusade by Kurt Vonnegut. I love Slaughterhouse-5. I love this design. I think it's really smart. Again, they're doing so much with text, and this cover design is by Paul Bacon. Oh, again Paul Bacon. From 1969. I feel like the text could be seen as so many different things. When I first saw it, I thought it was a reference to a tombstone, but I feel like it could be seen as a lot of different things, like either a bullet or a bomb or something that relates obviously to the story. Let's see what it says. Another Paul Bacon classic. Did you ever notice that the second S is upside down? The second S is upside down. Oh, I didn't notice that. Thank you for pointing that out. It's just doing a lot with text, and I love when you can do a lot with text. I don't know if I've ever heard of this book. I've heard of Philip Roth. I don't know if I've ever heard of this book title. Cover design by Paul Bacon, again from 1969. Paul Bacon overload, I know, but this bold typographic cover style is not only still recognizable as Portnoy's shorthand, but also set up a design scheme for all of Roth's covers from 1969 to 1975, even as he moved from publisher to publisher. That's interesting. I do feel like it's quite a striking color choice, and I like the font style, but is it doing much? It's not really telling me anything about what the story is about, and that's what I love from book covers, is when it gives a little bit. And I am not familiar with this book, so can't say too much about this one. Okay, the next one is saying Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, cover design by Amy Isbey Duvel from 1971. It's showing me an image of football players. I don't know if it's maybe missing the image. I'll have to put a picture up. I'm actually currently reading The Bell Jar. I'm listening to the audiobook narrated by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and I'm loving it. That book cover, I forgot what publisher it is. It's the one with her shoes. Bluish gray, grainy image of the lower portion of the girl's body with the shoes. I like that one. I also really love the one with the rose and the text that she's referring to. The next one we have is Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange. This one, super iconic. I really like this cover design. I have also seen a bunch of amazing cover designs for A Clockwork Orange. I haven't actually read it. I would like to. I feel like that's one of those classics that I'm surprised I haven't read yet. This one is a Penguin edition. The cover design is by David Pelham from 1972. Most of the covers on this list are first editions, but David Pelham's paperback edition of A Clockwork Orange came out a full decade after it was first published. The cover has become a much used and reused shorthand for both book and film. Also socks. Oh yes, it's on a lot of socks. I was like, also socks. I really like this cover design. I can't say too much because I haven't read the book. The fact that they use the color orange, especially with it being penguin, because penguin orange is just synonymous. It's definitely more of a graphic design with a lot of shapes and colors, a lot of colors that contrast against each other, like the orangish red with the green and the blue with the yellow. We like complementary colors. We like silhouettes. We like clean lines. That's what this cover is telling me. And I do really enjoy it. And I love the eye and the clockwork, the clock gear. Next we have Jaws, a novel by Peter Benchley. And this cover design is by Paul Bacon again. Wow, we love Paul Bacon. 1974. I have only seen the movie Jaws, but this obviously mimics the iconic movie cover. I do think that it's a really interesting cover. I also think that this cover, Jaws, the shark's mouth kind of looks like a tombstone, which could also symbolize some deaths. So yeah, I don't love it, but I do think it's smart. Song of Solomon, a novel by Toni Morrison, designed by R.D. Here we go again, I can't pronounce names. Scudellari from 1977. It definitely feels very classic. Like, this is some classic cover designs. Definitely has a 70s vibe. I do really like the wings. I haven't read the book, so I can't say too much about the symbolism and if it portrays the story that well, but I do think it is very striking. So, and iconic, which is the whole point of this list. Next we have Joan Didion's The White Album. This design is by Robert Anthony from 1979. I love the font. I love the colors. I think switching out the colors of the dot above the eye, I love how they swapped it for the red and the blue. And I haven't read The White Album, so I can't say too much about the design, but I do really like this cover. I think the font is really beautiful. Next we have The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I think this is 110% iconic. You can see this design on a lot of merchandise as well. This is designed by Judith Kasdan Leeds from 1982. Though I actually think The Color Purple has one of the most elegant movie tie-in covers I've ever seen. There's no beating the simplicity and power of the original. I definitely agree. I actually haven't read The Color Purple. I definitely want to. The font is so iconic to The Color Purple. I love that they made the font 2 shades of purple. It's just, you had to do it with that title. And also, I don't know the significance of the house, but I think the way that they put it as the rule of thirds, not in the middle, but slightly lower, and just making the house the central focus, I do think it gives you a bit of a narrative, so I really like that. Next we have is The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Melaine Kundera. I am actually in the middle of listening to this one as well on audiobook. I did stop because I had a limited time to listen to the bell jar, so I started the bell jar, but I am hoping to continue with this one. This cover design is by Fred Marcelino. It says, "The hat that launched 1,000 tattoos and other imitations." Fun fact, Marcelino is also the designer behind my favorite cover for The Handmaid's Tale and Jonathan Franzen's first novel, among others. Oh, that's interesting. I do really like this cover. I'm not finished with the novel, so I can't say too much about if I think it represents the novel that well. I do think it is quite symbolic with the bowler hat. I do think it's iconic. Is it my favorite? No, but I do like it. Next we have A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. This cover design is by Charles Rue Woods from 1987. Again, another iconic one, another book that I own but I haven't read. I actually bought this because Jess Mariano read it or is seen reading it on Gilmore Girls. This one says, "The hat that launched 1,000 Halloween costumes." The image is a take, of course, on the black and white first edition original, but this version and this color scheme have become much more iconic, definitely. I do really think the colors are very striking. The line work is quite beautiful and intricate, but also stands out. Even though I haven't read it, I feel like I get a vibe of the story from the cover, which is obviously one of the main points of cover design. Next we have Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, cover by Chip Kidd from 1990. I haven't read Jurassic Park, but I have seen, I think, only the first movie. So they wanted to make a cover that was as iconic as Jaws. They definitely did do that. You can't get more iconic, I think, than the silhouette of the T-Rex. Now we have American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This is another book cover or a book that I haven't read, but the book cover I really, really like. I really like it. Almost looks like an oil painting. I'm not sure if it is an oil painting. I don't love the way that they broke apart the section with the title and the author and then the red. I feel like if they brought the red all the way up and then they made the type black, I feel like that would be really cool and kind of incorporate the text into the image. I don't know, but that's just me being picky. Okay, this cover art is by Marshall Arisman from 1991. The rare cover that has remained iconic despite competing and also very compelling iconography from the film adaptation, definitely. I actually haven't read it and haven't watched the movie. I've seen parts of it. I'm just not a huge psycho killer kind of reader or watcher. Then, okay, we have some bonus ones. Okay, a few more contenders. To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, designed by Vanessa Bell, which I love, from 1927. Such a beautiful cover. Love the font. Screams Virginia Woolf. I love the scalloped edge. I loved the dot work. It's giving pointillism. It's giving ocean. It's giving Virginia Woolf. I love it. Okay, then we have The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, which is the cover design by Elmer Hayter from 1939. Again, super iconic. Next we have Interview with the Vampire. I do like the font. I feel like you do get quite a gothic vampire vibe. I like it, but I think that it could have maybe told a bit more of the story. But I do think it is a good example of giving mood through typography and through font. Next we have Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. Again, super iconic. This is by Nick Gaetano for the 25th anniversary edition from 1982. This one is super iconic. It gives, Atlas obviously is holding the world, and then the world is the title and the author. I feel like that is really smart. I do really like this design. Next we have Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, cover design by Fred Marcelino for the first American edition from 1986. I do really like this design. I think it's really, really clever with the figures, but the main aspect of the cover is the wall. It really gives us a sense of what kind of world we're living in. It does give us a sense of a dystopia, which I think is brilliant, and it says quite a lot without saying too much. Really like that one. Okay, and that's it. That's the last one. Those were some very iconic book covers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I find it really interesting to see what other people think are the most iconic book covers, as well as if I agree or don't agree. I would love to know if you guys think that these book covers are iconic. What are your thoughts? If you could make a list of maybe your top 3 or top 5 most iconic book covers, or your favorite book covers, I would love to know. And I just love talking about this kind of topic, learning more about cover design and art and books and the thought process behind narrative images and typography and graphic design. It's just what I'm so passionate about, and I love that I get to share that with you guys. So I would love to hear your thoughts. And yes, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Share all your thoughts that you would like to in a comment. I would love that very much. And I will see you soon in another video. Happy reading!